Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name's Jennifer. Glad you could join. If you're here, I suspect it's because Spirit has a message for you. And just know that you never need to listen to me for messages from God. God speaks directly to you, wants to connect directly to you. But I'm just part of a broader collective, a broader community of people who enjoy taking this journey together. And so oftentimes I'll ask God, hey, this is where I feel you leading me. Can you show me some signs of confirmation? And God might use nature. God might use something a friend says, something I read. God gives us signs in many, many ways. And so this channel is designed to just be one of those signs for you, signs of encouragement, and just to help confirm that um, indeed what you are feeling is truly from a divine source. So, okay, let's just take a minute to breathe together, to call upon spirit, to um, just make that connection between, the three of us. Let's get us all connected and tune in, okay? And just ask spirit to be with us in that. Thank you, spirit, for your truth, for your guidance, for your commitment to lighting the path along the way of our journey, for your commitment to loving us and providing for us and protecting us. Let's visualize our heart opening like a flower, pure divine light from within pouring in. That is the wisdom, the love, and protection of God pouring out from within us. Spirit, we open our ears, our eyes, our hearts, our minds to you in this moment, in this time. Thank you for your message. Okay. So I want to share with you something that happened to me yesterday. I had a friend call me and she went through, I would say, gosh, it might even be 5 years ago now. For the past 5 years has just been going through this really tumultuous time in her life where a long, long, long relationship ended, and and it ended very traumatically. So she has been going through years now of despair, of struggle, of heartbreak, of feeling rejected, feeling unloved, just all of the emotions that come with like a really, long-standing relationship ending. And she's really struggled through some depression, through just all the emotions that you would have in that kind of circumstance, right? And all the questions of what did I do wrong? What could I have done different? All of those things. Um, and um, Not that she doesn't have moments, because we all have kind of a vibrational level that we that tends to be our like our operating level, right? And then we might dip higher sometimes or dip lower sometimes and come up and go higher sometimes. So even a person who, for example, struggles with depression, will find moments of joy, right? And even people who live mostly a life of joy, will have moments of deep sadness, right? So we're all kind of a roller coaster, if you will, but we all kind of have a certain vibrational level that that's our dominant vibration. Um, and I would say, for the past few years, hers has been kind of low, but she does find those moments of joy, and she does try to enjoy life, but also in this time has been hit with some sickness, some illnesses that again I think are again tied to that lower vibrational level. But she called me. We were talking yesterday, and she said to me, "Did I tell you what happened?" And then she proceeded to tell me a story of this person that she was in a relationship with, of a situation, a financial situation that was, an unfortunate situation for that person. And her response after she told me was, she said, "I just found so much joy in that. It just made my day." Um, and so my knee-jerk reaction, because I could not take pleasure in someone else's suffering, no matter who that person is, So my initial reaction was I said, oh, oh, so and so, I'm not going to say their name. Like it was a kind of a, I want to call it a compassionate judgment. But I immediately realized, Jennifer, you are passing judgment on this person for her emotional response to this situation. And that's a behavior, I would call it a passive aggressive um, behavior where it feels like compassion because it's condescending is what it is, right? It's like, oh, I feel sorry for you because you're so misguided, right? It's very condescending. It's very it's just a judgmental passive aggressive judgmental tone. And so I used to be okay living in that space, and that felt like how I was supposed to behave as a Christian, right? Like, let me help guide you to the right way to think about this. But I now see things differently than that. And so I realized this is a judgment, and the weight that sentiment, that the energy of the words that just came out of my mouth, and it's not even what I said, it's how I said it. It was like, oh, and the way it came out of my mouth carried weight, heavy weight of guilt and shame. Oh, shame on you. You shouldn't feel that way about somebody else. Even though this person really hurt you and broke your heart, and all of these other things, um, you shouldn't feel that way. And I believe that, right? That's my truth, that like, not that you shouldn't feel that way. I just don't feel that way. I just have a broader perspective, and I see that we're all going through struggles, and that when people hurt other people, it's because they're hurting. And so I have this broader perspective that allows me the grace to understand why they may make choices that hurt other people. And so I can still love them through that. I don't have to agree with their choices. And so that's how I feel about this other person, even though he's hurt her. Um, and I love her, and I hate that he hurt her. I still have compassion for the fact that he's just a human trying to figure out his crap in this world too, right? And that he brings his own traumas and his own things that he needs to work through. And just because he's not in a place where he's ready to work through them yet doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be loved, and that he deserves these other things. So that's my perspective. So of course, having that perspective and then hearing somebody else taking pleasure in his pain just didn't feel good for me. But that's my issue, right? And that's where I really struggled. So like I literally had to ask Spirit today, like, help me understand, how can we be have such a high vibrational response to somebody else's negative experience? How is that, how does that fit into that higher vibration? Like I just couldn't make sense of it in my mind. And so that's what I had been wrestling with earlier today, as I could kind of like sit back and reflect on what happened yesterday. I didn't really think about it much yesterday. In the moment, after I made that comment, I did immediately realize that was judgment that carries heavy weight. She does not need that burden. She's been struggling and struggling with feeling unworthy, feeling unlovable, all these feelings over these last few years, feeling like she's made all these mistakes and, all of these things. She doesn't need the extra burden of me layering guilt on her. That is not productive, even though that has been the way of a lot of religions, is to lay on the guilt and shame. And they wouldn't call it, so I can tell you right now, Christianity would not call that guilt and shame. They would call that conviction. You're being convicted by the Spirit. But then there's a different word of guilt and shame that they say those aren't God's things. Conviction is what God uses, but they're the same thing. Explain the difference is what I would say. Explain the difference. Um, so anyway, um, so I did not want to contribute to that to her. So as she continued to talk about it, I tried to change my tone, and I said, you know what? I'm glad you found some joy in your day with that. And I just left it at that. And that even felt a little icky for me because I'm like, again, somebody finding joy in someone else's pain. So what do I do with that? And so I really struggled with that because um, I didn't necessarily want to encourage that behavior either. But what I remember today is like, I've already known this, I've already worked through this. I just hadn't had to apply it in this way. And this is why Spirit gives us these different experiences to kind of help us test what we believe. And so I had moved on from feeling like anybody needed, like it was my job to convict somebody or my job to point out what you're doing wrong. It is not. It's my job to love you. And um, when people feel loved and safe to be authentically themselves and safe to be honest and open and vulnerable, then they're in a position to heal. They need that safe space. And with healing for all of us, as we heal, as we're able to heal wounds and heal trauma within us, comes enlightenment. It's only through that healing process that the spirit can really start to flow in a way that we become more enlightened, that we become more open to the wisdom of God, the wisdom of the universe, the wisdom, ancient wisdom, and the truth, right? And I talk about truth usually in more of a relative way because and it is in the sense of like truth changes for us as we grow, but it's always growing closer to that absolute truth if we're truly growing, right? So as our energy level, as our vibration raises and gets closer to Christ consciousness, our truth becomes clearer. The clouds start to part. And I don't know that it's possible to experience total truth. I don't know that we could handle it. You know what I mean? That total truth would be unconditional love, would be God in God's purest, rawest form. And, that just might explode our brains, right? Um, in this human form, like we are physically at a lower vibration, just because of our physical nature. So I don't know that we can handle that in this form. But anyway, I digress. So I'm just going to flip a card. I just want to see where spirit takes this conversation. But actually, sorry, I don't think I completed my thought. So um, what I had what I have learned over this year is that it's not for us to judge. When we stop judging ourselves and recognize that we're just learning, we're here having experiences, we're making choices. Some of those choices have um, uh, negative, I'll call them negative consequences, meaning consequences that we don't enjoy. Some of them have positive consequences, meaning consequences that we really enjoy, and everything in between. And all of those experiences, positive or negative, help us grow. And all of those experiences have an impact on others. But at the end of the day, it's up to those others to decide how they will allow it to impact them. That is not on us, that is on them. Okay, so even when we make choices that could be hurtful to other people, it's up to them to decide how they're going to handle and process that experience. And if they decide to process it in a way that is hurtful to them, that is actually them relinquishing the power that they have to you to say, I'm going to let you hurt me. Okay. Now, what that sounds like is if I want to have power over myself and turn around, I got to put all my walls up so I can't be vulnerable, so I can't let you in, so you can't hurt me. That's not what I mean. What I mean is I can be open and vulnerable so that I can feel love and be in relationship and connected to people the way I was designed to be. That's how we were designed to be, is relational, right? But then when somebody does hurt me, I can choose how I want to see it, how I want it to affect my life. I get to choose that. I get to decide, is that a pain that I want to live with for 5 years and become angry and bitter and, all these other things, or which is kind of how my friend has been handling it. But again, no judgment. That is just the path that she's been on. She was hurt very, very deeply. I'm not sure that it would have been any different for me if I were in her shoes. So I'm not judging at all. I'm just not in that space, right? That's not where I'm at in my life. So, but I have other things that are taking me a long time to work through. And this judgment one just might be one of them. So anyway, let's just take a card really quick. Sorry, I'm trying to sense which of you has a story to tell. And I think it's Sacred Rebels. Okay, so Spirit, what do you want us to know about these type of situations where we are inclined to pass judgment? And in fact, I would say some of us would feel that it is our duty from a whether it's because we're a parent to someone or and that it's our parental obligation, or we're a big sister or a big brother or a mentor, or because we're spiritually obligated, or I should say religiously obligated to course correct someone. I would just say that I would challenge those ideas that we are not here to make sure that people get on this straight and narrow path. That is not our job. And a lot of us feel like it all is. And I would challenge you to say some prayers about that. Ask God, is that my role? Am I supposed to be helping people course correct? Helping people on their journey, yes. Loving people through these stages of growth, yes. There are people that would look at my reaction yesterday and of shaming someone else, right? And be like, ugh, that was icky. I felt it. As soon as I said it, it felt icky. Okay, so I know. And is there guidance they can offer me? Sure, if I seek it, if I'm open to it, if I'm asking them for their advice. But it's not for them to come and say, Jennifer, you did this wrong, and here's what you should have done. That's not that's not what they're here for in my journey, and to make me feel bad about the choices that I made. So we have to allow people the space to have their own experiences, to have their responses to those experiences, and to learn from those experiences. And that is what's going to allow them to grow. And if they have a network, a community around them that says, we love you through that, no matter how you responded, we still just love you. And that's where people can have have the freedom to grow. And in that growth, there's going to be some stumbling around and some fumbling around in the dark, and right, like, and saying that's okay. But when you guilt them and shame them, it just puts them back in guilt and shame is a low vibration, right? And it's just going to hold them down. It's going to be a burden on their back of more negative energy that's going to hold them down into a continuous cycle of guilt and shame. Okay. We don't want that. Like, we want people to rise up out of that. Okay. So she feels, she knows is the card that I drew. It's a 22, which is a master number 22. That's all about relationships. It's all about decisions. And it is perfect for this message, how we want to engage in those relationships. So she knows, just like I knew yesterday, the moment that came out of my mouth, that there was a better way. There was a better way to be a support to that person without shaming them, to just say, I love you. I'm glad you found joy. And you know why that's important? Even though she found joy in something that maybe wasn't the highest vibrational thing to find joy in, was that it's in those moments of joy when you're finding happiness and able to laugh. Laughter truly is the best medicine. So while she's laughing and finding joy in it, things are happening in her body physically. Things can heal physically. Things can heal emotionally. Emotions can move. Old stagnant emotions can move out, and new emotions of joy can move in. And in that joy, you find the courage to, it's in those moments of joy that you can find the courage to then go back and reflect, like I am today, reflecting on what happened yesterday. I didn't reflect on it in the moment. I knew it wasn't what I should have said. So I had enough connection to spirit to know that, ooh, that was out of alignment. I immediately had a negative emotion after it came out of my mouth, which showed me, ooh, that statement was out of alignment from spirit. How can I course correct? And that's when I came back and said, you know what? I'm glad you found joy for the day in that. I really am. And then today, back in my kind of higher vibrational level about it, able to think through, okay, and ask myself, why was it so hard for me to celebrate her joy? Why was that hard for me to just be happy that she was happy? Because I have been ingrained throughout my life to pass judgment on behaviors, um, on all behavior, right? It's my job to, there's some moral code somewhere. People say, yeah, it's in the Bible, da, 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 da. But it's not for us to judge. The only judge of anybody's behaviors should be themselves. And as we grow, that is what we're doing. When we go through these cycles of transformation that I talk about, that's what's happening. We are evaluating our behaviors. Do we think that was a smart thing to do? Do we think we could have done it better? And we learn and we grow and we increase in our vibration as we do it, right? If there's space to do that. When we hold people and oppress people in their poor choices, uh, it's hard to raise up out of that. Okay. So I don't want to be the oppressor in that situation. So she feels she knows is just all about having grace for yourself and allowing yourself to tap in to your higher self, to your soul. Your soul will guide you. And what I can say is when you're at a lower vibration, you might take joy and pleasure in things that ultimately aren't good for you. So here's what I would say at the level of Christ consciousness, enjoying someone else's suffering would not be a Christ consciousness level of behavior. Okay. I'm not saying that with judgment. I'm just saying that Christ consciousness is about a collective harmony. So what hurts under an understanding, Christ consciousness is an understanding that we are all one. So what hurts you hurts me. What hurts me hurts you. Um, and so lower vibrations might not understand that or see it that way. And so it's not for us to pass judgment and say, why don't you know this? That's like asking a kindergartner, why don't you know how to do this algebra? What's the problem here? It's not that hard. Why can't you get this? And shaming them for not being able to pick up on a concept that they are not equipped to understand yet. And so as the third eye opens, as the heart opens, so again, for this person, 5 years of like this relationship turmoil on top of all this other trauma that hasn't been fully processed, there's too much around that heart for it to be opened yet to that intuitive spiritual guidance. I'm not saying that they aren't able to tap into their intuition, but because that's not what I mean. But there's a lot of around that heart space, around that third eye. So they're just not getting the full message yet. They're being driven by their ego, their human side that says this person hurt me and they deserve this, and right. And so, but she knows, she feels when we can tap into our intuition and tap into our higher self, there comes a peace and a love for self that translates into a love for others. And we all can and will get there in our own timing. We have to allow everybody's journey to go at the pace that it's going to go at. So for somebody even at a lower vibrational level that takes joy in, say, drug addiction, like that's where they find their joy. It sounds crazy, but we need to allow them to find their joy there. Okay. And there will come a time if they have the space, I'm not saying we have to enter into that with them. We don't have to get in that circus with them, right? We can say, that's not for me, but I'm glad you're finding some joy and peace in that addiction. Okay. And then when that's no longer bringing them joy and peace, when the pain that comes with those addictive behaviors becomes greater than the joy they're finding in it, that's when they're open and ready to learning something new, open and ready to possibly doing some healing work, some therapy, some whatever that is, right? And then that's when they become more enlightened. That's when they're able to let go of some trauma or work through some trauma and let go of some feelings, negative feelings, and process that. And then with that growth comes something new that will bring them joy, something better. And maybe that's not perfect either, right? Like um, we we just have to allow the journey to unfold the way it's supposed to unfold for each individual. And it's going to be different for everyone. We all need different things. We all need to learn different things. We're all missing different things in terms of love or safety or companionship or whatever that is. And we all have different healing journeys. So just leaving room for that for everyone. Um, Was I going to read this one, 22? Let's read it. I can get to them. These are longer, so I won't read the whole thing. I'll just maybe read the beginning and the end. An illumination is erupting from within you as a vision that is bringing what was once obscured into clarity. This is not likely to happen as a blinding, shocking insight, but is more of a softer, gentle knowing. It is likely knowing something without understanding exactly when or how you came to know it. That's most of our journey. Most of our journey aren't these big aha moments. It's these little subtle, like, I believed this yesterday, but for some reason that just doesn't sit right with me today. And now in this new situation, because believe me, 6 months ago, I would have had no problem saying, "Ooh, you shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't take pleasure in his pain." But this time, the moment that "ooh" came out of my mouth, it was like, "ooh." I said "ooh" to myself. That is conviction. Saying "ooh" to myself is conviction. Saying "ooh" to someone else, that's guilt and shame. Okay, there's the difference. Um, Go to the end here. This oracle brings you specific guidance. The situations in your current life are particularly geared towards a more significant manifestation that is coming to you according to your life, path, and purpose. This is a stage of preparation and of building a foundation that will hold you strong and centered as your creative journey unfolds and your life path becomes ever more brilliant and luminous. So keep plugging away. Remain patient, but most of all, be hopeful and trust in the light you sense ahead of you, for it is the light that is within you, simply revealed more fully. It is the light that is within you, simply revealed more fully. You already have everything you need. You already know everything you need to know. And all that is happening now is happening to that end. And that end, again, is that it will simply be revealed more fully. So, what my friend experienced was a little flicker of joy, and maybe not in its purest form, but it was enough of a spark to bring her laughter, to help her find just a different, brighter energy. And that spark will be just enough to give her hope that she can find more joy. And with that will come healing. With that will come enlightenment and growth. And that, my friend, is how we want to help our loved ones on this journey and how we want to be helped on this journey. We want that supportive network um, to love us through all of those experiences. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace out.